Homework. That single word can trigger a surprising range of emotion. Nostalgia, resistance, anxiety, compliance, even resentment or guilt. For some learners, homework represents discipline and growth. For others, it is the silent reason they stop loving languages altogether. And for educators, homework often sits in uncomfortable space between tradition and doubt. We assign it because it has always been assigned. We defend it because it feels productive. We question it quietly, usually late at night, when we realize that most of it didn't quite land the way we hoped. Today I want to slow this conversation down, not to cancel homework, not to glorify it, but to rethink it deeply, honestly, and without nostalgia clouding our judgment. Because language learning does not happen on paper. It happens in minds, bodies, emotions, identities, and interactions. And if homework does not serve those dimensions, then we need to be brave enough to ask a difficult question. Who is homework really for? And this is how we start. As I say, sit down comfortably, get yourself a coffee, and let's get started.
Woo! Let's go!
Historically, homework was never designed with language acquisition in mind. It was born in an era that valued repetition, obedience, and visible effort. Language classrooms inherited this tradition and adapted it superficially. Grammar drills, vocabulary lists, translation exercises, writing tasks that prioritize accuracy over meaning. On the surface, these tasks look rigorous. They feel academic. They satisfy institutional expectations. But they often ignore the fundamental truth of how language are actually acquired. Languages are not memorized. They are absorbed. They are not learned in isolation. They are constructed socially. They are not retained through pressure. They are consolidated through meaningful exposure and emotional safety. And yet, many homework tasks do the opposite. They separate language from life. They turn communication into compliance. And they transform curiosity into obligation. This is where the real problem begins. Not with the amount of homework, but with its design philosophy. Traditional homework assumes three things that are rarely true. First, that all learners have equal access to time, space, and cognitive energy outside the classroom. Second, that learners will complete tasks with the same mindset and emotional state they had during class. And third, that repetition automatically leads to acquisition. In reality, many learners complete homework in environments filled with noise, fatigue, pressure, and competing responsibility. Some rush through it to get it done. Others avoid it entirely. Not out of laziness, but out of overwhelm. And some complete it perfectly, yet retain almost nothing. So we must ask ourselves, if homework is meant to extend learning, why does it so often shrink motivation? The answer lies in how homework positions the learner. Most language homework frames the student as a deficient performer, someone who must prove correctness rather than explore meaning. Mistakes are penalized, creativity is constrained, risk-taking is discouraged. The message is subtle but powerful. Do not experiment, do not play, do not sound right for your mind. Just do it the way it has to be done. But language is inherently messy. It grows through trial, error, reformulation, and interaction. When homework strips language of those elements, it stops being pedagogical and starts being administrative. Now, here's where I want to be very clear and a little honest. Homework is not the enemy. Unthinking homework is. Listen, well-designed homework can be one of the most powerful tools in language education if it respects how the brain, emotions, and identity interact during learning. The most effective homework does not ask, "Did you finish?" As a matter of fact, it asks, "Did this deepen your relationship with the language?" That shift changes everything. Instead of worksheets, imagine language noticing tasks, asking learners to observe how language appears in their daily lives. A sign on the street, a song lyric, a line from a show. Instead of drilling vocabulary, learners collect language organically, noticing patterns, tone, and context. This turns the world into a classroom and positions the learner as an active language researcher rather than a passive recipient. Instead of writing assignment designed to be corrected, imagine low-stakes expressive writing, journals, voice notes, reflection, messages written for meaning rather than evaluation. Writing not to be judged, but to be heard. Writing that builds fluency, confidence, and identity before accuracy even enters the conversation. Instead of reading task followed by comprehension question, imagine choice-based input. Learners selecting text aligned with their interest, level, and emotional state. When learners care about content, engagement skyrockets. And when engagement rises, acquisition follows naturally. And before we continue, if you're an expat, content creator, or personal brand building your presence in China, visuals matters more than ever. That's why we've been working with FrameFlow, a premium video production and design studio based in Nanning. They help creators stand out with cinematic quality visuals that actually reflect their brand. You can book your first project and contact them directly on WeChat or WhatsApp at frameflowcn.com. Another critical shift in rethinking homework is recognizing the role of cognitive load. Language learners are already juggling pronunciation, grammar, meaning, memory, and social risk. Homework that adds unnecessary complexity does not build resilience. It drains it. Simpler tasks done consistently outperform complex assignments completed inconsistently. This is where less becomes more. 5 minutes of meaningful exposure every day will outperform 1 hour of forced output once a week. Language thrives on frequency, not intensity. Homework should mirror that rhythm. Short, intentional, sustainable. And now, let's address something that educators often hesitate to say out loud. Homework often becomes a proxy for control. It reassures institutions. It satisfies parents. It creates a paper trail of effort. But none of those factors guarantee learning. If homework exists primarily to prove that teaching happened, rather than to support learning, then it is performative, not pedagogical. Parents, too, play a crucial role in this conversation. When homework becomes a battleground at home, language learning suffers emotionally. Pressure replaces curiosity. Fear replaces play. In these cases, homework does not extend learning. It actively undermines it. The goal of language education is not compliance, it's confidence, connection, communication. So, homework must align with those goals. Rethinking homework also means embracing asymmetry, accepting that not all learners need the same task at the same time. Some need more input, some need confidence building output, some need rest. Yes, you heard it well. Rest is pedagogical. A cognitively overloaded learner does not acquire language, they survive it. Giving permission to pause, reflect, or simply live in a language without producing it is not lowering standards. It is respecting the kid's cognition, teenagers' cognition. And perhaps the most radical idea of all, homework does not always need to be assigned. Sometimes the most powerful message a teacher can send is, today you don't need homework. Today I trust that learning happened. That trust changes the relationship between learner and language. It signals respect. It builds autonomy. And autonomy, not pressure, is what sustains long-term language growth. So, as educators, we must move beyond the question, should we assign homework? And instead ask, what kind of relationship with language does this homework create? If it creates fear, resistance, or exhaustion, rethink it. If it creates curiosity, ownership, and connection, protect it. Homework should not steal language from learners. It should return language to their lives. Until next time, keep questioning what you assign and honoring how kids actually learn.